I'm working my lips too. Lips.
Welcome back to Craft and Chaos, a weird show for weirdos who make things. This is the podcast for creative minds trying to thrive in the madness that is 2025, where we attempt to answer questions like, how do you make art when the world feels like it's on fire? And what is a script? Whether you write, perform, or daydream ideas that keep you up at night, this show is your companion through the wild ride of making something out of nothing. I'm Misty Stinnett, your host for this episode, and I am joined by the wonderful Pete Wright, Kyle Olson, and Ryan Dalton. And we are here to share honest stories, epic wins, total flops, and the weird, wonderful chaos that comes with being possessed by a new idea, as well as sharing the craft we've learned to bring that idea into this messy, wild world. For those joining us for the first time, gentlemen, will you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Ryan Dalton, and I did not know we were going to be sharing honest stories. I'm sorry. I brought all lies this afternoon. I'm going to have to throw out all my notes and start over, but that's okay.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Yes.
I can't hear you at all.
Oh, that's going to be a problem.
I say we do the show anyway.
Okay.
Oh, no. Please hold. For those joining us for the first time, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
I am Ryan Dalton, and I did not know we were supposed to be sharing true stories. I brought all lies this evening. I'm going to have to toss out all of my notes, but that's okay. I'll manage.
Pete.
Too much Pete.
All right, this is Kyle, and one of these hosts always lies, and one of these hosts always tells the truth. Will you be able to tell which is which? Listen and find out.
And then I stab you and point to the other one and say, is he dead?
All of that is too creative. I brought an allergy headache and a little bit of cantankerousness, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, since none of you said your names or what you do, I will brag for you. So Ryan Dalton
Did I not say my name? I'm sorry.
Has published, maybe. Ryan has 5 novels published and is working on more. Yes. Kyle is a dramatist and a screenwriter, and Pete has produced thousands of podcast episodes. Kyle's also published. Pete's also, honestly, the only person who's not published on this podcast right now is yours truly. Pete also has a published book called Unapologetically ADHD. It's fabulous. He's produced thousands of podcast episodes. And all of you are wonderful humans, including this one. Right now.
Well, it's okay if you're not published, because I think we need an adult in the room. So it's
clearly
good you're here.
Yeah, we got to fit all our egos into this this live stream. And I'm Misty. I am a television writer, a podcast producer, and a creative coach living in Los Angeles.
Woo!
That's us. Yes, the wonderful small town. So to kick off this episode, Kyle and Ryan, I know you guys just attended Phoenix Fan Fusion. What was that like?
We did. Ryan Dalton was a guest of the con. He was there with his book, His Last Adventure, signing it and everything. I was a panelist, but he actually, they had posters up with his picture on it.
Oh, more's the pity.
Fancy lad.
Wait, why is your poster not hanging in the background of your video?
Exactly.
It's hanging over my bed. Sorry.
On the ceiling?
I promised I wouldn't tell. But no, it's the show is awesome. I mean, Kyle and I both have a long history with it, and just being able to go back is always fun. And it felt like this year, well, a lot of cons really had a slow recovery after COVID, and I feel like this year not only did it kind of come back as far as the size and the attendance, it actually hit by a large margin kind of a whole new record. So had like really good, enthusiastic panels, sold out of my books in their bookstore, which was great. Signed a lot of books, and it's I just had a blast.
Yeah, it was interesting to be in the audience, as Ryan is a panelist. So like I went there and I can ask him whatever obnoxious questions I want. But yeah, you did one panel that one of the panelists said something that made everyone in the room gasp. And then even you on the panel were like, "Oh, I absolutely write that down." It was, I will see how much of it you remember. It was Mary Robinette Kowal, who is an author, and she was talking about her past as a puppeteer and how that translated over into her becoming a writer. I sort of looked up. She has a Patreon where she talks a little bit about it. But do you remember a little bit about that moment?
Not at all. Like that weekend's a blur. I'm sorry. I'll remember after you tell the story, though.
Right? Do you know what podcast you're on right now?
This is a podcast.
That's the cat.
I didn't think you guys were real. I'm going to be honest.
She has a Patreon as well, so we'll see if we can put the link in the show notes once Pete figures out how to do that.
Yeah, and she's got a long list of published books as well, and she's a talented writer.
She's incredible. Yeah, so her background is a puppeteer. So she was talking about how we constructed characters versus like when you were constructing a puppet, and she was saying like the more material you use, the more things you put on the puppet, the harder it is to manipulate, the more you have to work. So she was talking about the only way the best way to have characters in there is to keep it light until you need a thing, and then you add it on. So everyone went, ooh.
Oh yeah, I think I did tell her like on stage, I'm going to steal that for the next class that I teach.
You did.
And then I proceeded to forget it because con is a fever dream that passes very quickly.
And what kind of conference is Phoenix Fan Fusion? Like, who is it for?
It is one of the last sort of fan-run conventions. It is actually started by a fan who just wanted a convention in here, and then it sort of has grown into one of the biggest. I'd say maybe top 10, maybe top 15.
After this year, it has definitely ascended into a higher echelon, I think.
Yeah. Hayden Christensen from Star Wars was their big guest this year.
They had 130,000 people come.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
too many people.
It really is
in
really
the same place.
It beat their record by over like 20%, and that record was in like 2016.
They had all 4 Hobbits were there. Simon Pegg. I mean, these are like the big name stuff. And what's interesting is though, neither Ryan and I do any of that. It's like they have all that going on, and like we never go to see any of the celebrities or get autographs or pictures or anything.
Completely different world, And it's funny. Someone even asked. They were like, "Oh, so you must be able to be? You must be in the green room sometimes with the with like the actors and stuff, right?" And I just laughed. I said, "They don't put the authors with the actors. They put us in this little cave green room under a set of stairs, so that we don't bother anybody."
And Ryan, what was your book about that you were speaking about, and where can people find it?
I was speaking of 2. So I was speaking of This Last Adventure, which is the middle grade, about the boy using storytelling to try to save his grandfather's memories from Alzheimer's. And then I was also talking about my brand new book that's under a pen name called Worst Hero Ever, which has been described as Psych meets the Justice League. And that's the first of a series. And that is like brand new, like 2 months old. So
you had like the first hard copy with you, right?
Yeah. And I was giving away a few copies and things. That was fun. That was the first time in a public forum really that I got to talk about that series, which that's I think so far probably my favorite thing I've ever written. That was a thrill to get to talk about it. And
it's your first time writing erotica too, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, show horse erotica. I mean, it's a small niche, show horse erotica, but it's
show horse erotica.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my God, it's like you read my mind, and then
it's very fancy. There's a lot of using the word dressage for some reason.
Oh dear God! Wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I just asking for a friend. What is a dressage?
I don't know. I just know it's horse related.
You'll have to read the book to find out.
See, that's what authors do. We're like, I know that word's from something. I will use it. So
you guys, dressage is a kind of horse. It's a style of horse riding and horse training to develop horse. Have none of you ever actually ridden a horse?
You would know that, Pete. You would know that.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Pete, I'm gonna keep believing that it's a dress that you put a horse in.
Dressage.
Dressage, clearly.
Dressage. Okay, so I have a follow-up question. So 130,000 people gather in Phoenix for this con. I can only imagine that the collective field and the energy is just like really high. Like it's probably this intangible thing happening the whole time, except you can feel it. So what are your thoughts on like attending conferences or things like that to gather inspiration or to be like among creative community?
100%. That is absolutely maybe the top reason that I go. Like every year, it seems like, especially for Phoenix Fan Fusion, which is the one that that's actually how Ryan Dalton and I met. Was we were both working at that con. There's like sort of 3 different cons that are going out at the same time. So there's like the celebrity side where you're going and you're meeting famous people and you're getting picture taken and autographs and stuff too. And that's great. Like if that's what you want to do, fantastic. But then there's a vendor floor, which is just full of all sorts of the weirdest things, 3D printed dragons and dice.
It's so much fun to walk the floor.
And action figures and individual artists and writers. And that's where all the authors are there with their books and stuff too. And then there's the third one, which is sort of the fan gathering part of it, where people put on panels, which is why I was there. I was invited as a panelist, so I did a bunch of panels while I was there. And then you're going to see panels and seeing authors talk about their stuff, or costumers, or fans, or just people talking. Chrissy Lenz, friends of the show, did a whole thing where they play an episode of Supernatural. They take out the soundtrack and they improv the whole episode. And they filled that room. There was probably 200 people in that room, and having a ball with it. It was crazy. So I come away from it exhausted because because you're just constantly, it's like going to Disneyland. You're just going and going and going. But then over the next couple of months, you sort of have this extra creative energy because your people are out there. The fans are out there. The tribe has gathered together and now have separated again, but you remember that they're there and they will gather again.
Yeah, I'm gonna brag on Kyle here for a minute because he writes really awesome scripts for these live table reads set in like Marvel Universe, DC Universe, other things that just sort of like what ifs. And they in the past years, I didn't get to go to them this year, but in the past years drew a really, really good, enthusiastic crowd, and we get voice actors up there and just run through these really fun stories. And he's let me play around on a couple of them, which is really fun. And yeah, they're always a total ball.
Thank you. I'd say we'll actually be talking a little bit about that later on in the show. Yeah. So thank you for setting up a little tease for
foreshadowing. I would say my answer is largely the same as far as the value of going. Yeah, especially if you're a creative person wanting to do creative things, it could be a great way to start to meet people that are, could become sort of lifelong friends in the industry. You could say, who are doing similar things, and you help each other. Like probably one of my best kind of writing partners. I originally met at the con, and then we didn't know that we were each writers, and then we bumped into each other at a writing conference, and we've been sort of friends ever since. It's extremely inspiring and just recharging to be around, for one, just enthusiasts that want to come and sit there and talk about books, and being around the other authors, which is great because it's such a solitary thing. And so these few times here when you get to go sit next to other authors and you understand each other's point of view and your stories and things, and you just you commiserate for crazy stories, you kind of celebrate with them for the big successes, which is great. I always end up coming away from each con with at least one or two like new contacts that I wouldn't have had before, which is great. And the panels are a blast. My favorite one, I think that as far as the recurring ones that we've done for a few years, is one I created called Choose Your Own Adventure Live. So it's basically it's teams of authors, teams of 2, and I have brought lists of parameters, like different story parameters that are half filled out. I have the audience give us the other half for all the different suggestions, and then I bring dice, and then we roll the dice to get like 4 parameters for a story, and then each pair of 2 has 5 minutes to come up with the story concept. And then at the end, we we share them and they're ridiculous and everybody laughs and then we roll the dice again and then we do it again. And it's a total ball.
So fun. Well, it sounds super inspiring, and I don't know if anyone else is listening feels the same way, but I'm going to look up conferences after this. For what? I don't know. For quippy podcasters.
Dressage.
Yeah, dressage.
Yeah.
Dressage.
We got some ideas.
And I believe with that it is time to hear from this episode's sponsor.
This has happened to all of us humans. You are moving through your day of productivity and then, boom, this common everyday problem. It causes you distress. Sometimes it's this other less common problem. What a mess. And then, for the unluckiest of us, it's a third extremely rare problem. Tell me about it, girlfriend. Perhaps we have a solution. Have you considered? Goods? That is what we provide. We are the other orange. We provide goods, and a little something extra on the side. If they don't solve your problem, you should try again, as many times as it takes. The other orange. The solution to your life's problems could be just one good away.
There you go.
Our great thanks to the other orange for continuing to sponsor this podcast.
All of the many times now that I say, tell me about a girlfriend, I'm going to deliver it exactly like that.
I just wish everyone listening could see the B-roll of the horse slowly blinking.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, beautiful, man.
We should say, and it should be, may it please become obvious that if there is anyone who wants to sponsor this show, I have a feeling the other orange will be outbid. Just consider spots open.
Yeah.
We signed a very long contract with them. So
yeah, and they get to say whatever they want, really. So
thank you to the other orange. Huge thank you. So what I would love to dive into now is one of these wonderful questions that's in our intro, but we haven't really leaned into yet, which is, how do you make art when the world feels like it's on fire? Because I don't know if anyone has noticed, but it is ablaze right now. And I'm finding it difficult to create, you know? So I want to open it up to the floor. Pete, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that whole little intro was really makes me very angsty because the world is ablaze right now, and I think for me, there are three. Well, there's a spectrum of creative energy for me, and I find one is when I'm fired up because of the world being on fire, that I'm creating as a response to the world as it is, that I want to create messages. I want to write something. I want to interview people and create, interviews and conversations with people in the form of podcasts because of the way the world is right now, because of the way it's bouncing off of my skin. And sometimes that is too exhausting. And I find I have to turn it all off because I can't create, because the signal or the noise is too loud over the signal. And those are the points where I feel, disengaged. I feel sort of unplugged from the world. And while I might be able to, write another chapter in another story, I also sort of feel like, the trade-off of positive creative energy in that space is, oh God, I didn't hear about the latest horrible thing that's happened in the world that everybody else seems to be right on top of. And, am I a non-participant for those sorts of choices? So I bounce back and forth. I don't think I don't think I land in any one space. I think I move through creative energy, as fluidly as I can to maintain my sense of sanity, mental health, emotional health. I don't know. Does that even get to the question you were asking, Misty?
Yeah. I mean, it's what I'm hearing from you is sometimes when you have the energy and you're not overwhelmed by what's happening, or in a moment where you can set the overwhelm down, it's almost like you use your medium as activism a little, like in small ways or larger ways. Like
Mhm.
you use that as like, this is how I'm going to actively contribute to the conversation.
Right.
And then, the toggle, right? Like we can't all be producing all the time. We're not robots.
Mhm.
So
Well,
we
I think about
oscillate.
what you do. I mean, you live in a space of dealing with environmental messaging that can be very draining
Mhm.
day to day,
Mhm.
right? Like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
stories that you guys have to tell are exhausting to me because it's a constant reminder
Yeah.
of the inevitability of
Yeah.
human destruction. Sorry,
Yeah.
not a laugh line.
But it is, sometimes it's so absurd how bad it is. We have to laugh at it,
Yeah.
right? For comedic
Right.
relief. For those listening who may not know what Pete's referring to is I actually am the director of content and operations for a nonprofit that deals with matters relating to what's known as the meta crisis, which is a term for how all of the world's worst crises intersect. So the meta crisis or the poly crisis, or as we like to call it, the human predicament. But I'm also the executive producer of a very science tethered podcast where every week we have usually 2 episodes a week, sometimes 3. But it's scientists coming on talking about ocean warming, Amazon deforestation, nuclear war risk, geopolitics, AI existential risks. So
Yeah. So sometimes you create because of, and sometimes you create in spite of. And that because of and in spite of, sometimes it's a sidewalk, sometimes it's a tightrope.
Well said, Pete.
Yeah.
Well
I
said.
can see how coming home from that, it makes it difficult to sit down and go, but will Barbara confess her feelings to Sarah tonight? Like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's all going down. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Because that's sort of where I'm at now too. Is that after it's been sort of a rough and tumble couple of months, so I'm having difficulty now, like actually telling new story, like basically creating new thing, like sitting down to do the next thing because it's the same thing. However, I still find I still have the juice, so I still have the creative energy, but I'm now sort of following my gut of where it wants to go, and right now it's revising. So like I'm actually looking at a bunch of old stuff, and even somebody recently contacted me wanting to do some stuff with a script that was the very first play I ever wrote. They're like, we love that, we want to do that. I was like, that's really old. Like I don't know. Like I sort of like I was like, I don't know if it even is funny anymore. Like, is it still good? Is it still relevant and stuff too? So I'm now entering the process of looking back at that, and I've hired myself as a rewriter for this old material to try and get it up to modern standards too. So I've found that much more energizing to me and much more productive for me of looking and sort of taking what's already there and reworking it and revising it as opposed to trying to put down something new. So I'm just following my creative gut at this point. So it's and I decided to not beat myself up about it and not feel like I'm not being productive or not creating more things. It's just more like I feel like I almost like I pulled a muscle in my imagination, and I know I could play through the pain, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do something else while it heals.
So, I mean, I made peace a long time ago with the fact that no single person can shoulder the entire world's burdens. And so I draw a very clear line between being informed and being immersed. And of course, I want to be informed. But for me, there's nothing to be gained from being immersed to the point where it's painful.
Yeah.
So that's a way. Of course, you still see things that are happening, and it's difficult to see innocent people suffering and all that, but you just can't shoulder it. That's the thing, and sometimes it's easier than other times to say that, but so in knowing that, I try to tell myself that, look, you can only do what you can do. I stay informed. That's all I can do, really. So I'm just gonna find joy in the creativity. None of my work makes any statements. I take no positions about any social or political issue. There are authors that view their platform as their responsibility to do that. Totally fine. That's their choice. I do not feel that responsibility. So I focus on what I think is my one and only responsibility, which is to write the absolute best stories that I can write. And that helps me focus. I focus on that, and I love doing that. And so I think just choosing what to focus on makes it easier for me to just put on the headphones, put on some music, and get immersed and start creating. And some days are not as easy, but I feel like making a habit of that, and also sticking to kind of the creative routine, still treating it like a profession.
You show up.
You show up, all comes together. And if I sit down and for one reason or another, it could be any number of things, I'm not feeling it at the moment, maybe I go take a walk real quick. Or the two things that almost always work is, depending on what I'm writing, either I watch something that I know is going to make me laugh, or I put on the soundtrack, whatever soundtrack I put together for that piece. And inevitably that's going to help everything else fade away and just kind of immerse me in the creative world. And so in general, that's how I do it.
You get me thinking about I'd written a piece for my website a long time ago, and when the world, long time ago, like Tuesday, when the world started falling apart, and it just riffing off of a conversation that I had with a programming friend who illustrated this concept, a lot of what Ryan is talking about in terms of the three spheres. Do you guys know about the three spheres?
No.
The three spheres are concern, influence, and control. Right?
Yes.
Most of us spend our lives in the sphere of concern, right? This is world events, national politics, distant disasters, right? These are the things that take up our, all of our brain space. This is the stuff that we get while doom scrolling. We worry about and cannot change at all. We're aware of them, and our ability to do anything about them is at the very best indirect. The next sphere in is influence, and it says that these are situations that we can't fully control, but we can affect. These are our friends, our workplace, our local community. Our actions matter, but the outcome is not up to us necessarily, right? We advocate, we suggest, we persuade, we do not dictate. And then the main sphere, the smallest, tightest sphere is, your power ends with your skin. This is the stuff. It's your inner circle, the things you can actually change yourself. These are your choices, your actions, your daily routines, the state of your desk or your inbox. If you want to see results here, if you want to see real change, all you have to do is act, right? You just do the stuff that you can influence directly, physically. And that has really helped me. And it's like thinking in terms of, what do I want to do? First, notice when I'm stuck, right? Notice when I've moved to that outermost sphere and that I'm overwhelmed by a problem, and stop and ask, is there anything that I can do about this right now? Because if there isn't, I should move on. I should put the headphones back on, like Ryan says, and I should just get to work. I need to better understand my sphere of control, right? If the answer is yes, I can do something about this, what's the smallest action I can take to move it forward, to make change? And maybe expand to influence, right? Once I've done what I can do indirectly, is there something that I feel like I can contribute to in a broader scope? And finally, completely limit or get out of the business of concern, of that last sphere, because that's it might not be about necessarily sticking my head in the sand, but certainly recognizing that reading or worrying it takes me past the point of usefulness, right? That's where I fall prey to, losing the boundary that I set up for myself.
So I have a thing I found that Austin Kleon posted. He's one of the ones I follow a lot of times because he is a person that seems like a fount of creativity, where he's always trying to push forward and try stuff, but he also is very knowledgeable about the world. And so he actually put up a piece that I have kept pinned as one of my pins. We talked about having multiple tabs open. I have kept this tab open so you do it. And he talked about essentially the mission statement is to be fundamentally more invested in finding nourishment rather than identifying poison.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
great.
Yeah.
You wrote a whole thing about that, but it's just like that one sentence that I pulled out. Like I've told that to multiple people who are like despairing about stuff too. I'm like, no, like you can stay informed as much as you need to, but like you have to know that at a certain point, like you're not getting anything from this. You're just identifying poison, which we all know. You need the other side of it too. So like every once in a while I get overwhelmed with that stuff. I sometimes go back to that and write, oh right, I'm ingesting poison. I'm not fighting nourishment.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I suspect that's why, as an entire species, our anxiety is higher than it's ever been, because we've never been so aware of what's happening across the world from us, right? Like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, like we weren't at all getting the news like we are now. Right. And so our sphere of control is so teeny tiny compared to our sphere of concern. And I think in that gap lies helplessness and worry and all sorts of sticky things. So that makes sense. And it actually reminds me of, have you ever heard of an author named Emily Nagoski?
No.
Oh gosh, she's fantastic. She's a 2 times New York Times bestselling author. She wrote a book. Her first book was called Come As You Are. And that was about the surprising science behind sex, which was a brilliant book. And there was this chapter in it that was so popular that she wrote a follow-up book, and it was about burnout. So she wrote this with her sister, Emily and Amelia Nagoski. It's called Burnout. And in it, she talks about completing the stress cycle, right? So we cannot always control stressors. We cannot control having a bad boss, our tire shredding on the highway on the way to work, our kid getting sick the day that we have the big presentation, whatever stressors are happening, or global political events. But what we can control is the way that we respond to stress in our bodies. And so completing the stress cycle, basically in modern day, we get triggered in fight or flight hundreds of times a day. And then we never fight or flee, right? We just sort of go on with our day. So we get all these stress cycles literally trapped in our soma, in our body. And so some of the things that you can do to complete the stress cycle is a run, like a 15-second hug with someone that you love, dancing. I think it's like a 5-second kiss with someone you love. There are a lot of things that you can do, including escaping, reading a great fiction book. You know, there's a lot of way to discharge. What? Hint, hint. Have you guys heard of Ryan Dalton? He's one of my favorite authors.
Brought to you by This Last Adventure. This is right. This is what's called embedded marketing.
That's right. Well, and also that's what I was also hearing in what you were saying, Ryan. Like you were describing state shifting exercises, taking a walk, putting on a soundtrack that I've created for this piece, which I love that idea, to get you in a different kind of mood. Because sometimes we just can't lift those moods, and that's okay. And sometimes we really do just need to go outside, take a walk around the block, and come back inside. And that can be powerful. And something that I wrote, because I figured that you three would cover some of the macro stuff. Some of the things that I wrote down about how I try and stay creative if I want to make art when the world feels like it's on fire is this idea of living life as art, which was a phrase I had never heard of before. So of course there's like the mediums that we identify with that are part of our identities, right? Like Pete, you're podcasting, Ryan and Kyle. I'm laughing at Kyle's screen name. He put Jeremy Baramy. It's very good. Kyle and Ryan, you know, your novels, your plays, your scripts. But for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, how can I make this moment a little more artful? Maybe I'm chopping garlic. I'm doing it in a weird way that makes me laugh. You know, I was flailing my arms for people who can't see it. Or maybe I'm on my evening walk and I just kind of skip or do a little turn or something where I bow to a flower, you know. You're really seeing my California hippie come out. But what are the ways, or maybe for you, that's like having a glass of wine as you're slow swaying to a song and no one's ever going to see that performance or ever look at you. But what are the ways that you can kind of fill your cup up? And then finally, I think such an underrepresented part of the creative cycle, we talk a lot about output, but not as much about input. And I think when the world is on fire, that is a fantastic time to find a new TV series you love, a new book series you absolutely love, go to a museum, listen to new podcasts, like fill your cup up and use it as that beautiful escape, that state shifting exercise, and to just be filled up by other artists.
That is a really good reminder for me. There was a time, I think it was during COVID, because so many creators were struggling. I actually put a weekly reminder, and all it said was every Friday, go review something. And it was, either a podcast or an album or a book or something, Goodreads, wherever it was. And to pick something that I love from whenever I'd read it through over the years and write a really lovely review of it. Don't ever write anything below 5 stars. Like just only share joy, and have a little weekly reminder to go tell somebody else how beautiful what they have created is and how important it has been in my life. Maybe it's an app in the App Store, right, that changed the way I work or something like that. That's a really good reminder, and I don't know why it fell off my to-do list.
You gotta write a little post-it. Stupid to-do list. That's beautiful. And there's so much cognitive neuroscience that says when we do a kind act for someone else, especially if they'll never know us, never see it, never know it was us, it really does something very positive to our brains.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you will make a writer's day. If you leave them a 5-star review, they will love it and think about it often.
Yeah, I mean, I post a lot of stuff on Archive of Our Own, and so it's nice that as you don't think you put stuff out there and it's just sitting, and then all of a sudden an email will come in that someone has left a kudo or put a comment on stuff too, and it's like, oh, right, stuff is still out there and people are still doing it, and they take the time to do it. I think that it's the creatives who are making this stuff need to hear it. And there's even stories on Tumblr and stuff too of people who have they abandoned something and then left it up there, and then 10 years later someone goes, this is amazing, you should finish it, and they go, okay, and just for that one person they go back in and finish that story. It is transactional. It's sort of like that people are putting stuff out there, but they want to get stuff back in terms of hey, I really like this. And that's, you can do as simple as that. We always on our podcast ask for reviews and 5-star reviews and that kind of stuff for algorithms and ratings and that kind of stuff too. But honestly, we read them.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
put a thing up. So
it's not just the algorithm, right?
No. Yeah. There's people behind the microphone.
The ego rhythm as well.
The ego rhythm. Well, inevitably, every time that I have wanted to give up on my other podcast, especially in COVID, because I'm reading and reviewing self-help books, and it costs me money. We don't make any money off of that podcast. And I would be like, why am I still doing this? I feel like I'm shouting into a void. Is anyone even listening, right? Because it tends to be kind of a one-way, I want to say production broadcast. That's the word, broadcast.
Yes. Yeah, I sometimes say I'm screaming into space.
Yeah, and I know because I can see there are people listening, and there are a lot of people listening, but you never hear back. And then without fail, every single time I've thought, I don't know if I can do this anymore. A really meaningful review will pop up and say, this podcast is getting me through a job that I hate. I listened to this podcast on my, way to this really hard thing. We had one that said, this podcast has gotten me through an eating disorder clinic. And I just thought, oh, I'm never stopping. I'm never.
Now I'm addicted.
For Pete, one of the shows that I have done is the Marvel Movie Minute. And so that was another COVID project, is that, my podcast partner, Rob Tomasco, and I just talked about Incredible Hulk. Every episode was about 1 minute of that movie, and so it was fun, it was silly and stuff too. And then we got a message from someone who they said this was what got me through. They had a hard job, and they said this was I knew that I would even take a longer route home so that I could get through the whole episode.
Nice.
And it was
heartwarming.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you're oh, it really meant we were just having a good time, but it was it really meant something to somebody, and that really meant something to us too. So yeah, it's it's all part of the creative cycle of you put it out and then you want to get that something back. So yeah, find your creatives in your life, tell them they're doing a good job.
I love that. This has all been one long ploy to get you all to review this podcast. Thank you in advance for the 5-star ratings.
5 stars for Spar.
That's right. And with
Perfect.
that,
Mwah.
this brings us to our second ad for this evening.
Daddy, I think I saw a ghost. Hello everyone. It's me, the creepy little British girl from all those movies. I'm famous for saying things like, "You're all going to die." But giving cryptic warnings to disbelieving adults just makes me more confused about my own life. What should I do about the monsters that live inside my head? How can I navigate the haunted zone known as the self-help section of the bookstore? The good news is that neither of us has to go it alone. That's why I listen to Go Help Yourself. They make self-help feel less like climbing a mountain and more like walking a path. Because they believe that, even though life is hard, especially for creepy little girls, personal development doesn't have to be. Your final moments may be full of terror, but your commute doesn't have to be. Listen now, before the creatures in the walls come to claim you. You were warned.
Wow, Misty, that's an interesting take on marketing a podcast. I wouldn't really have gone that way.
Creepy Victorian girls really are an underserved market. So that's
so you did your research and you
that's really well. Yeah, I mean, it's very kind of you to focus on them and only them.
It's my honor. I just wanted to blend several of my passions into one. And that's Victorian death culture, small children, and self-help. And my
and the British.
So there's a pivot coming in future episodes. Okay.
Oh my God.
That was fantastic and so unexpected. And I say thank you to Jeremy Baramy and the Fourth Sphere of Cake, which are the display names. Kyle and Ryan.
That would make. I mean, that would make an amazing band, really.
Yeah, that was so incredible. Okay, so now, Kyle, you had this great idea for this episode. Do you want to walk us through?
Sure. We talked. As we record, our first episode is now out there, so people are hearing and stuff too. And so we've talked a lot about in that episode. We talked about imposter syndrome, and we've talked about self-doubt and those kind of things. So I thought, that is part of it. And obviously even today we're talking about the weight of the world too. And so I wanted to sort of do the other side of that. And so I asked everyone to bring something that they had written or created or whatever that they were very proud of. Like something that they went like, you know what, this was really good. Because I think that is also part of it. You sort of end up measuring yourself by the heroes and the people you aspire to be, and you're never going to measure up to that. But then you have to take a moment to go, you know what, of what this is, I got it. I like this one. I even if it's a small moment, which is like mine will end up being just like a small moment. It was like it hit me, and I was like, hey, you know what, I did all right. So that's what I put out to everyone. So I'm interested to hear what you are proud of, and then to talk about sort of set it up and then why.
Okay, who's going first? Are we gonna rock paper scissors it?
Let's rock paper scissors.
Okay,
me and Pete.
Okay,
you Pete.
All of us. Get in here, Kyle.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Rock paper scissors shoot. Wow, Pete. We all chose scissors.
Okay. All right, we're doing it again. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. One, 2, 3,
paper, scissors,
go.
shoot. Okay, I killed Kyle and Pete killed me. All right, Pete, you win. You go first.
Pete, you win.
We're never doing rock, paper, scissors again, ever.
We
just learned a really valuable lesson that I have never experienced before. When 3 people play rock, paper, scissors, the world explodes. It's horrible.
It doesn't work.
Okay, so
Pete should go first.
I went.
Capital idea. Pete, you go first.
I went back in time because I went way, way, way back in time, in fact, because I started thinking about, let's just see if this actually starts playing. So I went back to my final project in college, which was a documentary on the making of a short film, which was the final project of my dear, dear friend and film student, Andy Nelson. And so I made the making of movie of his movie at the same time. And we spent months at the Denver International Airport before it was completely at capacity. And I made this film. And it's not great. I mean, it's not a great film, but it is exactly what I wanted it to be. And I think that is success in its own right for me. It is the thing that I had in my head, and I got it out. And I was terrified by it. I was absolutely terrified by the experience. And I'd spent, 4 years in college learning to do this stuff, right? To run camera and to edit and all. I had hundreds of hours of footage of making this making of movie, and I managed to do it. But at the very end of the game, I turned it in for my final capstone project. And on the premiere day, I didn't show. I didn't go when the rest of my class watched it. And I got a handwritten card from my professor and advisor saying, "You missed a hell of a party. This was one of our favorites of the run, A+." And that was touching and completely heartbreaking at the same time, because it's the thing I remember about the fact that I had so little faith in myself. So here's just a little piece with audio, so you can kind of hear it. We're in the bathroom right now with the lead actor.
The thing with film and the thing with acting too, especially film is very close, and you're always thinking, I have a chance to do it perfect. I have an opportunity here to do it perfect, absolutely perfect. And if my mind is in the right position and my thoughts are going in the right way, I can do it that way, and I can do it the way Andy wants me to do it, and the way that the audience, it'll catch them off guard. Is don't make it average. Don't make it something that people will just look at you and say, "Oh, that's something I would do," or making new choices, making new ways of doing it. And so the moment when I was looking at it, that's what was going through my mind, and I was scared to death.
I'm just gonna break down, Dad.
Why is that, son?
Because I shouldn't have to reset up. I'm just getting very upset.
Why don't you just stay right here?
Because there's going to be a flight leaving out of here at 3:50.
At what time?
3:50.
At 3:50?
And see, that flight over there is not even on these boards.
Well, if they're not leaving to 3:50, you're okay.
No, this flight, right. I mean, I'm fine at this gate for now. But, I mean, these people are leaving.
You just get done what you got to get done, right, as much as you can get done, and then let's move.
That's what I'm planning on doing.
Well,
I'm just getting frustrated with the fact
it's okay.
that
You let
anyway.
All right. You're venting.
I'm venting.
It's good to vent.
I'm sorry. I had to let that play with, that was our dear friend and my business partner, Andy, and his dad.
Yeah. How did we get older and Andy looks exactly the same?
Yeah. So that ended up being something that's pretty bittersweet in my history. I'm really proud of it because of what it represents as a first big project. I got an A+ in the class, and it got me a job. And so it got me my first job in television. And so I have a lot to be grateful for about that experience and the people who, made the movie that I could make the movie about. It's also the beginning of the meta chapter of my life, that who knew that most of what I would create is stories about other people's creating. That's been the constant theme since college that I have found most fascinating, is telling stories about others' great works. So I don't know. Does that fit with what you were looking for, Kyle?
It absolutely does.
Yeah, that was really cool.
As someone who, one of the things I sort of define geekdom is, I see a thing, then I love it, and then I want to pull it apart and find out how all the individual parts and then put it back together again. I say this as I've watched Lord of the Rings I don't know how many times, but I probably watched the behind the scenes about how they made Lord of the Rings probably twice as much. Actually, we're in the process of watching them all over again because I'm interested in that as well. So yeah, absolutely. And I thank you for sharing something that wasn't like a home run knock out of the park, but has that little bit of that sort of tang of regret to it as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's funny to remember it that way, like so positive, and yet, oof, that one last thing.
Yeah.
I feel so moved by that, Pete. And I was watching Kyle's face too. And we both had like our mouths were hanging open like, oh no. Like I so badly wanted you to have that moment and I wouldn't even meet you for, decades. Like it's so.
Yeah.
But that self-doubt can rob us of beautiful things. And remembering like feelings aren't facts, right?
Yeah.
All the time.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. Lessons that are, it's so fascinating, isn't it? The like this was decades old, and to reflect on this particular lesson that I feel like I'm still learning, right? We just keep learning.
Oh, yeah. That never stops. If you're doing it right, that never stops.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So next.
Well, I'll go. And per the usual, I deeply regret following Pete. So remind me to throw the game of rock, paper, scissors next time. So I was actually surprised that the thing I wanted to bring were some poems that I wrote. But the reason that I chose some poems, Pete just got excited.
I really did.
Are because I don't consider myself a poet. That's not what I've studied. It's just something that I felt really called to. And a couple of years ago, I started doing a morning practice that I do a couple of times a year. I would love to sit here and pretend like I'm a person who does this all the time, but I feel like I'm my best self when I do this, but led by a brilliant coach here. I was part of a group that woke up at, before dawn around 6 a.m. And we had kind of a Zoom accountability group. And from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., we did a morning practice. And part of that morning practice included, some affirmation statements, some gratitude, some meditating. And then I was feeling really stagnant at the time, and it was winter. So it's like dark at, 3:30 or 4 p.m. and just feeling, it's like time of year that's like, oh God, just kind of want to be cocooning. And I thought, okay, the goal of the morning practice was to do it for 30 to 40 days. And I thought, I just have to break this cycle of stagnation. I'm going to challenge myself to write a poem every day as part of this morning practice. And I'll just see what comes out. And I knew there would be days where I would be like, damn it, I don't want to write a poem. I got nothing. And so the reason that I'm so proud of these, it's not that I necessarily think that they are the world's best poems, but I'm really proud of my dedication to the process. And so I'm going to read you, I think they're really short, 3 short poems. And what was cool is reading back. So these poems were back in 2023. I was so surprised reading them back today in preparation for this. I was like, oh, you've got kind of a vibe here. And I wish everyone could see my screen because when I type them out, they're all lowercase. I have certain emphasis with words over to the right versus the left, that kind of a thing. But I'll read you some that kind of represent a few of the different moods I was in on those mornings. So this one is called, Who Has the Time? Who has the time to write a poem? Not me with my frazzled mornings and swirling sense of chaos. Not you with your artistic blocks and inaccurate self-doubt. Not her with her disembodiment and numbing habits. And yet, here is one breaking through, proof of the art that lives within us all, dying to get out.
And you wrote that before we started this podcast.
Yes. This was December 18th, 2023.
Nice.
Here's one that surprised me as it came out. This is called Impatience. I am impatient. There is so much I want to do. My legs won't run fast enough. My fingers won't type fast enough. My brain won't learn at the speed of light. I yearn to be an expert in everything. So why must it take a lifetime? Surely those who want it this badly should have it dumped on their head, soaking through as Gatorade does a winning coach. How I lament all the books I'll never get to read, all the languages I'll never speak, all the degrees I'll never earn. And so I stare humbly at this blank page, wondering how on earth anyone does it, live all the life there is. Or do we all die discontent and thirsty, asking God for just one more turn?
Wow. Yeah. Nice.
That was lovely.
That one surprised me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then here's one called I'm Fucking Mad. Woke up with a headache. Sour mood spills out like rotten milk, all chunky and inconvenient and repelling. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? I don't even have a mop. And that's it. There are like 5 poems in here over the course of those 40 days that are like, I don't know what to write, and that makes me mad. I think I had one that said, COVID sucks, that is all. And that was
There was a musician named Jonathan Colton who sort of in the early days got prominence because he said, I'm going to write a new song every week. He called it Thing a Week. And so it started out, big and strong. And then when he got to the middle portion, it started to get really weird because he had to put out another song thing too. So yeah, over the course of that time, when you're in the grind, it just sort of takes, and then whatever comes out is what comes out. But
that's right.
But thank you for Michelle. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I actually very heavily identify with the first part of your second poem with like not being able to do things fast enough. Because I still feel like that sometimes. I felt like it more years ago. So fun fact about me, I have a fairly serious sleep disorder that almost all through my 20s went undiagnosed and untreated, and I was a zombie. I was very different than the me that you know now, because I was literally I would struggle not to fall asleep mid conversation. And I just thought that's how I was. And then I ended up getting a sleep study and a whole bunch of other studies and things. And it was, I could barely, I could hold down a job, but then I would come home and crash every day. No energy to do anything else. And I had a doctor tell me after I got diagnosed, he said, you will die at 40 of a heart attack if you don't treat this now. So
Yikes.
I got surgery, I got continual treatment, and within a year, I started writing again. Because I literally woke up. And so, especially for my 30s, I don't feel it as much now into my 40s because I've got some stuff under my belt now. I felt like I was creating for 2 decades, the lost one and the one I was in. So I really relate to that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
So there are words that the world puts on us, things that people call us. There are the things that we say to ourselves, the things that we call ourselves, and the titles we give ourselves. But let me then now speak for the world and to you, Misty, you are a poet.
I agree. Those were good.
I do too.
I mean,
add that to your list of hyphenates.
I mean, legit good. I enjoyed those. And you see, I identified with one. So, I mean, yeah.
No one can see my face right now, but it's scrunched up and small. Thank you. That means a lot. And I don't think I've ever actually shared my poetry with anyone, but maybe like a sister or, a partner. So thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
That means a lot. I feel like there's this amazing account on social media on Instagram called Poetry is Not a Luxury. And I encourage you guys, it's curated so beautifully, but I don't know about you, but I feel like poetry just is the truth. Like there's something about that medium and it captures the truth in so few lines. And I'm just obsessed with it. So thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to a very special episode of Crafting Chaos.
No, it's an act of extraordinary vulnerability to share your poetry, especially sort of nascent poetry, publicly on a podcast. And I, for one, am deeply relieved that it didn't suck.
Yes.
Because that would be
Thank God it was good.
different.
I have a
Thank God.
hard time, pretending to like things.
Yeah, no, because pretending to like poetry is work. So,
hey, that was my house is on fire. I gotta go.
Put all those words in that order? Wow.
And you capitalized all the L's in that one? That was really ingenious.
I do that.
I die. That is an amazing compliment. Thank you so much. That's the 5-star review I'm taking away from this episode. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pretend to hate sucky poetry. Thank you.
God,
yeah, you didn't hear any.
Oh,
that's very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know there were that many words for horse.
What a perspective. Dressage. Again.
You dressaged this? How much dressage did you use?
All right, I will take it next, and
Yes.
I'm gonna take us up the emotional ladder a little bit.
Yes,
because it's much lighter. So one of the things that, as Ryan was nice enough to mention at the beginning, is that I write fan fiction. So like one of the things that I get to do at cons is I basically write a brand new fan fiction script for every convention that I go to, and then have actors like read out stuff. So essentially it can be whatever kind of I want, but what I try and do is essentially write it like an episode of television. So it's going to be, I don't expect you to know everything going in. So it's a fun thing for me to do because I get a chance to go to the con. I get to be in front of the audience. I get to hear my work read out by these amazing actors who are giving up their time for free to come and do it. And I get to have that immediate response, and they're one and done. Like I just take it, it's done once, and then it goes away forever, because it's usually of the moment. So I had done one essentially answering a question they asked. They brought up in Avengers and never answered, which is what happened in Budapest. There was a whole thing about Hawkeye and Black Widow where they talked about something that happened in Budapest, and still Black Widow is dead. Hawkeye is retired. They still have not told this story. So I decided I was going to tell this story. And I tried to fit it in. So when I talked to Manny Fabian about this, she's like, oh, you like following the rules. And I was like, well, I like when there are parameters put around. Yes, I like that. So having it to be able to use characters that I didn't create in a world I didn't create is fun, because then I get to sort of follow their stuff and I don't have to make everything out of whole cloth. So I decided to answer that question. So in the process of it, I put way too much work into these. So in the process of doing this, I decided I was going to learn about Budapest. And so I got out Wikipedia and a map, and I was figuring out where they were, and I was using real locations. No one cares about any of this stuff. But it was my process of trying to make it as authentic as possible. And so as we were going through, what we're going to show just a little bit of it. So essentially during COVID, I brought one of these scripts back and I got my friends to go and read out just as something that we could do together. So this had been done at a con and I thought I was sort of done with it, but I thought it's still pretty good. And so it's a way to get my friends back together and do it. So I got a bunch of them to read out this part. So in this scene, essentially, Hawkeye has been sent to kill Black Widow in the opening scene and has intentionally missed. And we don't exactly know why. So currently, Black Widow's on the run. Hawkeye's trying to catch her down, and he is staking out a place, and he's talking to Phil Coulson over the headset. And so this is just a little piece from that, and then I'll talk about sort of why I picked it.
It's a beautiful sunny day in Vienna. We're at the Hofburg, a huge Austrian palace. Tourists walk the large open spaces between ornate buildings. Clint stands next to a huge statue, now dressed in tourist guise, a backpack over his shoulder. The crowd moves around him, taking pictures, speaking in all different languages.
Any sign of the target?
None. Tracker's still working. We're in the area. Museum's right across the way. I'll spot her.
We need to talk about this.
We really don't.
You missed.
Wind shifted. Sun was in my eyes. My arm twitched. Saw a pretty bird.
Which of those is true?
Pick one.
Agent Barton.
Look, tell me about Viper.
Baroness Ophelia Sarkissian.
Oh, Baroness. How fancy.
Married a baron, killed him, and used all his holding to finance her fanatical organization known as the Serpent Society. If it's awful, they've made money on it. Arms dealing, human trafficking, drugs. It's a one-stop shop of awful.
And they've got a thing for snakes.
They do. Code names, even some genetic modifications.
You.
Reports even tie them back to Hydra.
Another relic of the past, like this guy.
Like what guy?
Sorry, I'm standing under a statue of some dude on a horse.
Ah, yes, that's Prince Eugene of Savoy. He fought against the Turks and the Ottomans and even...
Seriously, Phil, you just keep all this stuff in your head?
Sure, Eugene was an interesting guy.
Yeah, don't care.
Joined the military at 19 and fulfilled the soldier's dream.
What, killed enough of the other guy that he got a statue?
No, he came home. Died in his bed at the ripe old age of 72.
Oh, how about that? Way to go, Eugene.
So, in doing this research, I found there's this real statue of this real guy, and then it turns out that where I had set the finale, there's another statue of that guy. So he almost like he comes back. So like that's when they do their big escape, it's another statue of this guy that they use to escape. And so like there's this whole thing about Clint's like, hey, thanks, Eugene, and stuff too. But it was one of those things where I was writing this, and I don't know where this came from. And I like literally wrote that like he fulfilled the soldier's dream. He came home, and I like actually like stepped back to the keyboard, and I was like, ooh, wow, like. I don't know where that was from. Maybe I stole it. I don't know. But that's one of those weird writing moments that I felt like I'm just transcribing. It's that it's like something was passing through me and do this. I'm like, I don't ever remember like, ooh, I need to hit that moment. It was just literally came out of my fingertips. And I was like, oh. So yeah, it's like I've written big splashy things and speeches and all this kind of stuff, but like when we talked about this, I was like, that's the first thing that came to mind. I was like, I don't know why that specifically, but like that was one of the ones where I felt like, oh, that was like in a little thing that no one really saw, or I think it has 100 views on YouTube. I mean, and there was less than that in the room when I did it. It was like this little honest moment in this ridiculous fan fiction thing that like really struck me.
That feels like you have no business writing that part of heart, right? Like
right.
That's not, you don't have any business or expect. Yeah. Why are you channeling that right now for this? But yet it's the thing that sticks with you the most.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it was a ball to act in it. It was a lot of fun.
You look great without a beard, Ryan. By the way.
Well,
yeah,
you're very kind. I appreciate it. That was hard to look at because that's me 40 pounds ago, 3 hairstyles ago. None
of us were looking our best during COVID.
With terrible microphone. Like I'm like the evolved Pikachu version of that guy now. But that was so much fun to do. I still remember having a ball doing that.
Yeah. And that was the other voice. There was Justin Kent, who, as fans of Swashbuckling will know, has played many, many parts over the course of that, and is one of my longest serving friends.
Well, and the loop is the longest serving friends. Yeah. And that you are now personally a friend of Coulson is really lovely.
Yes, that's true.
That you have the opportunity to actually interview Clark Gregg. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. So cool. I got goosebumps when you said that you got a download. I got goosebumps all over my arms and legs. And that's usually my tell that something cool is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend who hosts a bunch of the Amazon movie premieres of the Marvel movies. He's gonna host the Fantastic Four premiere this summer. So if anybody has questions, if anyone has any questions for him, or maybe we can get him on here and grill him.
Sure, that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, guest star. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, right. All right, Ryan.
Okay, Dalton.
Okay, I think it's me. Okay, so I brought a little 5-page script, and similar to what Pete was talking about, it's not that I necessarily think this piece is so great. It's kind of what it represents that it gives me very fond feelings about it. So I wrote this about a year after starting to get that treatment that I talked about, when I was starting to wake up, and I was starting to really look at writing as something I would want to take seriously. And I would write everything I possibly could, just to get experience. I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't ready to write a book yet, but I knew that was the end goal. So I would write everything. I mean, just you name it. I would write short stories. I would tell friends, "Hey, are you selling something on Craigslist? Let me write your ad." And I would write these zany ads that would always sell. And from writing those zany ads, I actually got freelance ad writing work at an ad agency. And so I was just doing these. I wrote for a comedy blog that's now nowhere, and I was just gaining experience, and I was having a ball, and I was just wanting to become a better writer. So one of the things I did is I also entered screenplay contests, because I love writing screenplays, even though I don't do it professionally. I thought this would be a great way to learn a different discipline. And so it was one of those multi-round things where it was like the 24-hour type challenge where, okay, at a certain time of day, you get like genre, some condition, and like a word that you have to put in. You have 24 hours to give us a 5-page script.
Sometimes you get banana bread.
Sometimes you get banana bread. It's really funny. This is like a sequel to that thing.
What were you stung by?
So I remember this one that I entered. So the first script that I got, I don't remember all the conditions, but it was sort of a thriller, and I wrote it and just had a good time and submitted it, and I won the round. And I was like, okay, I did not expect that. And so I got through to the next round, where I got a completely different type of prompt. I only remembered 2 out of the 3 prompts, but it was funny because I had taken a trip to Australia right while this was happening, and this entire thing was happening on American time. So I remember very distinctly, I got this prompt at like 10 o'clock at night in Sydney. Oh, no. My brother, who I was traveling with, was going back to the hotel, and I said, I will be back when I have written this script. So I went to a coffee shop and I wrote until like 4 a.m. And at this point I had thought, well, I already won 1 round. I kind of have nothing to lose. So I'm going to just go at this in the way I went at those ads that I wrote that would always sell stuff. Just be wacky and zany. Cause so I remember the 2 of the conditions, not the third one, but the one condition it was supposed to be a comedy. And the second was the object, which was an electric pencil sharpener. And I just sat and I went crazy, and I won again. And I thought, I wrote just something, and it was, to me, one of the first times that I thought I can write something that springs completely from me and people might actually like it. And it was a transformative moment. And so that really stuck with me. And so looking at, I mean, I wrote this in 2009, 2010. So like I have 15 years more of writing experience, and most of that, which is professional. And so looking back, is it a good script? I mean, not really, but I had a blast with it. And I actually had fun reading back through it and being like, oh yeah, I did have fun writing this. And it was like an inflection point for me in the whole journey to show, look, you can really, truly be your weirdest self, and you may be able to make a go of it. And so that's why I chose to share this one. And so I brought the script for you all, in the hopes that you would want to read it with me.
Excellent.
So, okay. It's called Settling the Score. And I'll assign you your parts. And the kind of the log line is: an unsuspecting shopper stumbles upon a music shop vendetta. So let me give you your parts. I'll do the narrator. I'll be the narrator, and I'll play Bob. Pete, yes. You're going to be clerk / Dewey. Now, they're the same guy, but at this point I didn't know script like formatting, so I didn't realize, just call him Dewey from the start.
Yep. I made the mistake too. I've got knocked down points for doing that exact thing.
So the first couple lines are just clerk, not clerk 2, just clerk. But then it becomes Dewey, so it's the same guy.
Okay.
Kyle, same thing for you. You're clerk 2, who is also Mike. So it's the same character.
But you would
Misty, you are Claire. You guys ready?
So ready.
Okay. Exterior city, afternoon. Claire, a business-attired blonde woman in her 20s, stares at a rusted storefront with a sign reading, The Junkyard, Secondhand Records. Doubt paints her face. She opens the door. Interior record shop, afternoon. Shelves line the dusty shop, stacked high with records. Claire notes rickety staircases on each yellowed wall leading up to the low-hanging loft, which boasts low shelves. Posters for obscure bands hang from the guardrail. Indie punk music plays in the background. To the right is the checkout stand, manned by a portly clerk with shaggy dark hair and a faded Black Flag t-shirt. He leans against the counter with a somber expression, chin in hand.
Evening, milady. Welcome to the House of Broken Dreams. Would you like any lifelong hopes shattered today?
A clean-cut blonde clerk appears from between the shelves.
Ignore Dewey. He just discovered his favorite creature doesn't exist.
Dewey comes to life, standing and pointing with conviction.
I saw one, Mike. You know I did. At the Metro Park Zoo 10 years ago. I saw him right behind the others, then disappeared.
What creature?
Human cheetah man. I saw one, but Dr. McBuzzkill here can't handle it.
Yeah, that's because you saw a man standing behind a cheetah genius. In any case...
Dewey opens his mouth, but Mike motions toward Claire.
In any case, this lady is a real live specimen known as a customer. You know what we do with those, right?
Yeah, so, like, what do you need or whatever?
Well, I saw online that you might have a copy of Blue Sun's album River.
Last one in the state. You want it? Dewey, go get the last copy of Blue Sun's River, would you? And take the anti-bob.
You mean...
Yeah, it's time.
Yes!
Dewey grabs an automatic pencil sharpener from the counter and sprints toward the right side staircase. Watching, Mike leans back against the counter next to Claire.
You're welcome.
For what?
For the free show.
Dewey leaps toward the staircase, stumbles, and flops chest first onto the steps. Groaning, he climbs with his hands and feet.
Bob, man the guns, you turd bucket. I'm coming aboard.
See, Bob, my stock boy, loves Blue Sun. Not a normal human love, more like a I'll trade my new baby for that album love. He's been saving for months to buy River from me.
Suddenly, a large, balding man in horn-rimmed glasses and an ill-fitting tracksuit appears on the balcony, wielding a slingshot. No, you cannot have me River, you scabrous dog!
2 weeks ago, Bob broke Dewey's favorite Flogging Molly album during a dispute about whether Muppets can feel pain. Dewey's been looking for revenge ever since.
Screaming, Dewey charges up the stairs. Bob fires marble after marble at Dewey, striking him in the face and chest and sending him repeatedly to his knees. Slowly, though, Dewey draws closer.
I've held him back since they were both likely to impale themselves on something sharp, but I knew that wouldn't last forever.
So what's the anti-bob?
At that moment, Dewey thrusts the pencil sharpener at Bob like a flaming sword and presses the button. A metallic screech fills the shop. Bob collapses, clutching his ears and wailing.
That's the anti-bob. Don't worry, you'll get your album soon, unless they kill each other with it.
Dewey sprints past Bob, still holding the pencil sharpener button. Frantically, he searches the back shelves.
Is it under B for blue or S for sun?
It's under W for wherever I was standing.
Dewey finds the album and raises it for Mike to see. Suddenly, the pencil sharpener sputters and dies, and all is silent. On the floor, Bob starts to stir. Mike taps his forehead.
Oh, that's right. Get new batteries. Dewey, run!
I'm coming, milady!
Let's assume he was talking to you.
Holding the album high, Dewey speeds toward the staircase. Bob, however, manages to heave himself off the floor and blocked away. Ha-ha! The way is shut. The enemies square off, one attempting to dance around the other, one grabbing for the record, neither succeeding. They pause, panting and breathless, staring daggers at each other. Recovering quicker, Dewey gathers himself for one final advance. With a battle cry, Dewey launches full out towards Bob, running with all his might. Bob holds out his arms, ready. At the last instant, Dewey leaps to the top of a shelf, then leaps again, launching himself over his foe. Arms spread wide, he soars through the air, smiling as the wind ruffles his clothes. Bob reaches up and manages to land a slap with one meaty arm. Dewey's cry of triumph turns to a yelp of shock as he is thrown off course. Instead of flying like an eagle towards the stairs, he is now sailing over the guardrail. With a crash, he lands on the top of a shelf and smashes through the first 3 sections, then lies still. Mike and Claire run to his side. Though half awake, Dewey clings proudly to his prize, River. Mike kneels beside him.
Did I do it, boss? Did I slay the dragon?
Yeah, you did, Duds. You were great.
Dewey coughs and shudders. He grabs onto Mike's shoulder.
With this last deed, my eyes darken. Give the prize to my lady with my love.
Dewey's head falls and his eyes close. All is silent.
So that's for me then?
Dewey opens his eyes and looks at her.
Oh yeah, dude. No problem.
He gets up as if nothing has happened and walks past them toward the cash register.
Let's ring you up.
Laughing in amazement, Claire watches him walk by. As Dewey goes to work, she turns to Mike with questions in her eyes.
So, can we get you anything else?
The end.
Well done.
How much merchandise do you reckon was destroyed? That's all I can think about.
At least one Bob's width worth of shelves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was very cinematic. Like that's
thank you.
I can see like the even like the wind whipping through his clothes as he leaps through the air and stuff too. Like that's
it's funny you say that, and you see I even see seeds of little things that I still might do now, even though it's clearly a very younger writer who wrote that. Mm-hmm. I would say who
was a fan of Firefly,
and Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, all of which got references in there. But even to this day, like the number one reaction, like description I get about my work is that it's cinematic. So that still holds true even now.
I could totally see that. And I just want to say I'm so touched that everyone got a little vulnerable. And it was all with, work that's not like, this is what I wrote last week with my advanced skill set,
Right.
This was so beautiful. I'm so curious what those listening think of this episode. And I just want to say that if you have something to contribute about this conversation, you can visit craftandchaos.fun to share. So I would love to hear what you're proud of and how you make art when the world feels like it's on fire. And with that, I think we'll call this episode, everybody. So thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you downloading and listening to this show. And we will be right back here in 2 weeks with another episode of Craft and Chaos.
And Dressage.
Don't make weird art.